Patanjali's teachings, the Niyamas, or the rules for living. In the book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there are 8 limbs of yoga. One limb is the Niyamas, which concerns itself with the rules for living. This video is part of a series on Patanjali in which I explore the 8 limbs of yoga as he writes about them. You can head to intuitiveandspiritual.com to see all entries about Patanjali and the 8 limbs of yoga. What are these rules for living? Well, according to Patanjali, again in this same book, he's got 5 rules. There's purity, contentment, self-discipline, self-study, and surrender. They're all related to moral behavior. Let's take a look at purity. This first niyama reminds you to strive for cleanliness, both physically and mentally. This is up to the individual, as its expression can mean different things to different people. For example, physical cleanliness. With this niyama, it invites you to take a look at the physical aspects of your life. Do you maintain a clean body? A clean home? Do you have an excess of things? Even things that maybe perhaps you're overly attached to? Do you try to rid your body of dirty substances such as junk food, for example? Or when you look to your entertainment, do you find entertainment that isn't jarring, violent, or negative? Maintaining cleanliness in a way that you can be satisfied with helps to also clear and clean out your mental state as well. Speaking of mental state, there's also mental cleanliness as part of that purity niyama. Practicing the 8 limbs of yoga can help declutter the mind and help purify it. This is through breathing, meditation, physical exercise, and more. The idea is to strive to do your best to get there. It's impossible to be perfectly clean in every aspect of our lives. Not being perfectly clean is actually part of the human condition. This particular niyama, however, helps you to think about attachments to the self, to things, to clutter. For me personally, I'm constantly striving towards less clutter, less attachment, and more cleanliness. When I was younger and living with my parents, for example, you could eat off of my mom's floor. At my house, I'd say do so at your own risk. I mean, I have 3 pets. And this is where I am in my life as well. The next niyama, contentment. It teaches that if you can learn to accept life as it is, then you will find contentment. And it's so much easier said than done, right? Western culture, especially, seemingly embraces the opposite of this. The constant materialism and consumerism is what drives the economy. Endless commercials and savvy marketing encourage you to buy that shiny new car, that latest gadget, or the new house with the latest styles of design. The happiness that comes from buying things is temporary. It's not long before you want something else. In essence, you're resistant to the fact that you don't have this thing now. The same is true for goals and achievement. Get that college degree. Get that master's degree. Land the dream job. Once you do these things, then happiness will ensue, right? In a word, no. Happiness comes within. And that's what this niyama is trying to teach us. This niyama shows us that happiness comes from within. It comes from your mindset and your gratitude for what is present in your life right now. The fact that you're watching this video right now suggests that your life perhaps isn't all that bad now, is it? You're educated enough to find and read the captions for this video. You have the freedom to find information. It even suggests that you have a broad enough worldview, given that Patanjali and the sutras are ancient, ultimately translated from another culture and from Sanskrit. You have some stability in your life if you have access to the internet such that you can stream video. Perhaps you're even on a spiritual or esoteric path. Essentially, what we're talking about here is acceptance. Acceptance for what is. That doesn't mean that you can't change your situation or change things that you would like to change in your life. But the resistance to what is right now is part of what causes suffering. How do you change this? You change by making yourself smile. It's proven that your mood will follow suit. You change through meditation and constantly letting thoughts go. It's about the journey and not getting too preoccupied with the destination. I experience this resistance when I worry about things that I usually tend to worry about. Money, what people think, traveling safely, to name some examples. But I cannot tell you the peace I feel when I take a step back, smile, and immediately start counting my blessings. It works every time. As time goes on, I experience much less worry and more peace as I deepen my spiritual practice. The third niyama, self-discipline, is a fun one. It shows you how discipline, enthusiasm, and a desire to learn are actually wonderful virtues. This can look like different things. It can be that you develop the discipline to follow through on a practice, such as learning a new language or keeping a promise you made. It can look like making a commitment to your spiritual practice. Perhaps it's developing a new habit or getting rid of an old one. Effectively, this niyama encourages you to look at your mind, body, and spirit, and to cultivate the discipline necessary to optimize them. This cultivation translates to an inner power that helps to purify the mind and find contentment. It's overcoming that which you do mindlessly. If you are a regular reader of my blog, you'll know that I have no problem in the enthusiasm or having a desire to learn departments. I cannot help but read and learn, observe, study, investigate, gain more knowledge every single day of my life. I also recognize that that desire to learn can turn into an addiction, in which case I would need to evaluate and probably break that habit. Self-study. This fourth niyama asks you to look at your life internally, externally, or both. The key is to observe so as to learn. You can look at your overall physical life, analyze your habits, thoughts, and actions. This is an opportunity for you to observe, for example, whether you're constantly running late to appointments or biting your nails. You can observe what you do when you're stressed or annoyed at something. Then there's your internal life. You can observe how you feel and act, your motivations, what angers you, what makes you feel content, that sort of thing. This is also encouragement to look at what happens when someone angers you. What do? You become really present with this particular niyama because you're looking at what you're doing moment to moment. And in that sense, you become an observer. By becoming an observer, you can detach from your attachment to what you think should be to what actually is. This can be difficult because sometimes the voice kicks in. You know the one that judges, the one that criticizes, that one. If you adopt an attitude of just noticing what is, almost like you're watching a silent movie, you unlock the door to higher compassion for yourself and for others. You take on that non-judgmental attitude, and it's pretty powerful. One really great way to practice self-study is through self-inquiry meditation. Developing a practice of asking, who am I? Both on and off the meditation cushion can help you uncover your truest self. I personally practice self-inquiry meditation quite frequently, and it has furthered my spiritual practice in innumerable ways. The last niyama, surrender. It suggests a true communion with yourself and with your higher power. For atheists, this might look like a surrender to one's highest self or the universe. For someone who's Christian or Jewish, this might look like surrender to God. Whatever your beliefs, this niyama is more about recognizing that there is something divine in all of us, and connecting to that is to connect to love. This final niyama is one of realization. In fact, it is said that if you can master this last niyama, all the other ones become moot. It is from the dedication to love, in whatever form that may be, that automatically makes the other niyamas fall into place. Your ego evaporates, and what's left is grace. You're compelled to live a life of devotion and service. I personally have not learned yet this surrender, but as a spiritual being in pursuit of my highest self, this niyama is appealing to me.